that's rough.
Ooh.
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 Welcome back, De Niro Nation, to Our Hero De Niro, the only podcast that is watching and recapping Robert De Niro's entire filmography in random order. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mike.
Hi.
Great. And today we're talking about the 1987 neo-noir psychological horror film, Angel Heart, an adaptation of William Hortzberg's 1978 novel, Falling Angel. Fallen Angel? Falling Angel. ING.
Falling Angel.
Yep. I kind of like stopped looking at my notes halfway through saying that sentence. Mike, this was an unfamiliar film to you, correct? We'd never heard of this beforehand. Yeah.
Never.
It was a minor disappointment at the box office. It had an $18 million budget and only made $17 million. Did you read anything about the history of this film, its production before or after watching it?
I did. Yeah, I read the whole Wikipedia article.
Same. I thought it was really interesting. Apparently, they had a lot of difficulty finding a buyer for the novel adaptation, the script, and it was originally rated X, which made it nearly impossible to distribute because the MPAA, they're like a racket, you know, you can't get distribution in theaters if you have an X-rated film.
Yeah. I knew this coming into the movie, and I came in with a like I was watching it and I was like, the fucking milquetoast weak ass bullshit that used to get you an X rating. This is like not that serious. And then you get to the sex scene that earned it the X rating, and I watched it and I was like, I think the X rating was right. Like,
pretty uncomfortable stuff.
It goes pretty hard, pretty fast, like in the final act of this film.
Yeah. This film was written and directed by Alan Parker and stars Mickey Rourke, Robert De Niro, of course, Lisa Bonet, and Charlotte Rampling. So should we get right into it?
Oh, please. Let's do it.
Yeah, I guess I should just say at the top, I should apologize in advance for this recap. Mike suggested to me that I watch it when I was in the middle of trying to clean out my apartment. And so I was already in the middle of that activity and didn't want to stop doing it because I was feeling, motivated to do it. And so I threw the movie on and was taking notes, but was, I'd say, devoting at worst 65% of my mental energy to watching the film at points. Although I will say it did pull me in at certain points. I did devote 100% of my mental energy to it in some parts. But, this might be slightly confusing of a recap. I'm going to try to just power through.
Yeah. Hang on. I take umbrage with I think the way that you just said what you just said. So
okay.
I had to think about it. I think that what you meant was you and me were chatting via text, and I said, "Hey, you should watch Angel Heart." And you happened to be cleaning when I sent that text.
Yes.
But I think the way it sounded when you said it was, you'll hear this when you go back and listen to it, was that I discreetly recommended to you that this was a good movie to watch while cleaning. And that is not what happened, just so our listeners know. Like, I did not tell Mike, hey, I want you to do a bad recap for this movie, so why don't you watch it while you're cleaning? That's just coincidental. I paid attention to this movie when I watched it. So I don't remember it very well, actually, relative to, like, The Fan, which I didn't take any notes for this movie, and I also didn't take any notes for The Fan. So I don't know if I'm going to be as good of a bolster for your recap from this as I was for The Fan. We'll see how I do.
Here's the thing. One, I feel like I picked the worst possible movie to do this for because it's so confusing.
It's an extreme and it's an extremely visual movie. Like, yes. It's like there's some films you watch and it's like you can kind of listen, and it's like you're getting a lot. Like, the visuals are 95% of the point of watching this movie. Like,
yeah. Well, two, I think it doesn't matter because it's a total vibes movie. It's all about the vibe. And so I will just try to give a nice, tight recap, and I think we're going to have a fun discussion about Angel Heart. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So we get our opening title sequence, and it says, it's listing everyone's names, but for Robert De Niro, it says special appearance by Robert De Niro, which is not a good sign for his level of involvement in this picture.
I agree. I found this deeply concerning.
Yeah,
when it popped up on the screen, I was like, oh, fuck, one of these?
And we see some moody nighttime lighting, so it's kind of setting the mood of the film, and we get some blaring saxophone in the soundtrack. Very jazz-heavy soundtrack. It's interesting. I'd say like half the soundtrack is jazz music, and the other half is this mid-'80s electronic score. It's very cool tonally. I think it works really well. We go to New York in 1955, and we see a young Mickey Rourke who plays Harold Angel. I was struck. I was struck by how different Mickey Rourke used to look when he was a young man before all this stuff.
Yeah. I
Completely
felt the exact
different.
Same way.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd ever seen Mickey Rourke in a film like pre 2005.
Yeah,
and
like
so,
pre Sin City.
I didn't recognize him. I was like, wait, is that Mickey Rourke? Because I knew he was the one in the movie. He's really nice in the role. I really enjoyed his performance. I think it's one of the strongest things about the film from my perspective.
Yeah. Harold Angel is the lead of this film, and I think it's a great performance. He's really good playing this character. So Angel, he enters the back of a church. I mean, it's a black church, just so you have an idea of what's going on here. So they're singing fun songs and not the boring stuff that you and I grew up with. Herman something or other introduces himself to, we're already off to a great start, introduces himself to Harold, and they walk by this suicide cleanup. He meets Robert De Niro. We get our first sighting.
This guy has
What?
an interesting name. Hang on, let's get it right. It's Winesap. Herman Winesap. It's like worth remembering. It's a very strange name.
Of the Winesaps. So they go.
Esquire.
We get our first De Niro sighting at 7 minutes and 4 seconds, first close up at least, and he plays a character named Louis Cypher, and the look is crazy. He's rocking a suit, thick beard, a ponytail. He has a cane. Why are you doing that with your fingers?
Tell the listeners what I'm doing. Do you not know why I'm doing this?
Is he wearing a lot of rings?
He has incredibly long, immaculately manicured fingernails. Did you not notice that?
I didn't notice the fingernails.
It's crazy. It was wow. It is incredible that you didn't notice this. You got to go back and look at a picture of it, because it truly speaks to how little attention you were paying. Not only is it it's distinct. These are these are women's fingernails. They are immaculately manicured and painted women's fingernails, and the camera trains on them. They're like a focus of the cinematographer's shots when De Niro is on screen. They want you to think about how odd it is that this guy has these beautiful women's fingernails.
Listen, I got the gist of it.
Anyway, the thing I was doing was I was shaking my fingers I was sure Mike would see that and be like, that's right, the nails. But apparently he didn't even notice that.
No, I was just looking at Mike wiggle his fucking fingers in front of me for some reason. Anyways, so Angel, he's a gumshoe. He's a private eye who usually handles small time stuff. But Louis Cypher wants to hire Angel. So he gives Louis this backstory. Basically, he wants Angel to track down this crooner named John Liebling, aka Johnny Favorite. So apparently Favorite, he suffered this neurological trauma that he got from injuries in World War II, and that incapacity disrupted this contract that he had with Cypher for some unspecified collateral. Anyways, De Niro wants Angel to help him track down Johnny. Johnny is apparently in some mental hospital somewhere else outside of New York City.
Yeah. So I would just add a little bit to this because
that's great. I'm sure you would.
I think you didn't describe the specific circumstances of this, or at least the way it's explained to Harry. So Cypher explains that he had some sort of deal with Favorite wherein he did something for him and in return got access to something as collateral, but only in the event of Favorite's death. So the point of the investigation is that Cypher suspects that Johnny Favorite actually has died, but for some reason this is being hidden from him so that he cannot call the collateral that he's entitled to in the event of Favorite's death. So the only thing Harry Angel, as far as he knows, is supposed to be doing is seeing if he can find proof that Favorite has died. That's the purpose of the investigation. He's not looking for anything else.
Nailed it, man. You're like a human Wikipedia page.
Yeah. Doesn't say it in the Wikipedia article. That's what I say. But I remember it from watching the film.
Anyways, where are we in this film? Second scene.
In the second paragraph of the Wikipedia article.
So Angel drives his 50s car in the winter to this mental hospital. He tries giving an alias and checking in, whatever. Apparently he finds out that Johnny was transferred. So he's no longer in the hospital. He goes to this classic small town diner cool looking place.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a great moment in this scene. Like,
what's that?
This you're gonna ruin this recap.
What's the moment? Why don't you just say it?
So let me just say something about this movie, okay? So I really like this movie. I don't know the degree to which that will be reflected in my rating, but I really enjoyed watching this movie, and I really like films about PIs, and I really like little moments in PI stories where you see them doing like fun PI stuff. And there's a really fun moment in this scene where the like nurse or orderly or whomever behind the counter who has Johnny Favorite's paperwork brings it out to show it to Harry Angel. And there's a mark on it that says that he was transferred to another hospital in the early 40s, I think maybe in like 43 or 44. And Harry Angel realizes that this is falsified because it was written by a ballpoint pen, which hadn't been invented yet in the year that the note was ostensibly written. And so he knows it's a forgery, that it was written after the fact, retroactively, like, backdated to the date. I think that's fun. These are little moments that are going to get lost. This is sad. I'll just have to say them when I remember them. Like when I remember that like something in the film struck me as fun.
That's great. I'm relying on you to do that because I don't, otherwise it'd be a 2-hour long recap if I was, it's like your classic, I'm going to tell you every time I laughed during this movie. One of those bits.
I'm going to tell you every time I didn't pay attention during this movie. It was the whole thing.
So Angel goes to this diner. He makes a call. He ends up rooting around someone's place and he finds a gun, a Bible, and a whole lot of morphine. So the guy comes home and it turns out it's Liebling's old doctor from the mental hospital, or Favorites. I'll just call him Favorite. Favorite's old doctor. And Angel questions him. So the doctor says that Favorite was in a coma and he recovered eventually, but he had amnesia. So a guy named Kelly and a woman took Favorite and they paid the doctor $25,000. I mean, in 1955, that's pretty nice.
Right, it was like $250,000. Like,
oh man, yeah. Ooh. And apparently, Favorite had facial reconstruction surgery afterwards. Later on, Angel's walking at night. He hears whispering and such. And this is when I noted the vibe. He goes back to the diner, and it's just one of these really small, like, what do you call these sorts of diners?
Hold
like
on.
the free what?
I'm sorry.
What?
You skipped something.
What?
Both so important to the story as well as to like the way the story is going to end up. When he leaves the doctor's house, he locks him in his bedroom. The point of locking him in his bedroom is that he's a morphine addict, and so he's going to sweat him out. Like he's going to like make him go into like morphine withdrawal so he'll be more pliable. But critically, he locks him in his bedroom, and the way this door is locked and unlocked is with a key only. So like he locks him in the bedroom, he takes the key, there is no way the doctor can get out of the room, and there's no way anybody else can get in. And then he leaves, and then the thing that you're in the process of describing happens.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, because we return to the doctor's apartment or house or whatever, who he had, take his little nap, and finds that the doctor is quite dead. He shot himself in the eye, and he's holding a picture of a woman. Mysterious death. Angel, he's walking around during the day and he says hi to Allie. Who's Allie? Why did I write that? Doesn't matter. He meets with Cypher.
That character at all.
Yeah, I wonder if that's one of my like, how AI hallucinates? It'll just like make things up when you like ask it a question. I wonder if I also do that. I just make things up when I'm taking notes. I hallucinate when I'm transcribing what I'm seeing happen on screen.
I mean, I think that much in the same way that calling the things that large language models do hallucinations maybe gives a little bit too much credit to their intelligence. I think calling, the acts that you took leading up to this recap hallucinations also may do a little bit too much credit to your intelligence. So we'll see how we feel as this conversation unfolds.
I mean, again, who cares? It's a vibes movie.
You've missed so many critical parts of the vibe in your description of it so far.
Whatever. Angel meets with Cypher and he already wants out. And Cypher... he meets him at the diner and Cypher has this monologue. He's like holding a hard-boiled egg and just monologues about eggs. And he asks Harold at one point, would you like an egg?
Can I offer you a nice egg in this trying time? Yeah, he's got an egg!
And I just thought it was such a great character beat for De Niro as this character. He doesn't get a lot of screen time. We probably only have him for 5 minutes in the whole thing. but he definitely makes the character memorable. It's a good performance. And I do like the way that they styled him.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's just a shame you didn't notice the nails. A couple of other things I would add up until this point. So the reason why Harry wants to renege from his case with Cypher is that he is afraid now that because he may have left behind some forensic evidence or something, some fingerprints or whatever, in the doctor's house where he killed himself, that he could be a suspect in the doctor's death. So now he's like mixed up in something way more severe than he thought he might get mixed up in, given that he was just supposed to be confirming whether someone was alive or dead. But also, Cypher offers him the egg and he says no because he has a thing about chickens. And that's a motif throughout the movie. Harry Angel is afraid of chickens. Yeah. He has a phobia of chickens.
It's a crazy fear. I think we're going to really go off the rails very shortly in my recap.
Oh, that's concerning. It's concerning that you think it's going to get worse.
I mean, I found the plot of this film so it didn't matter to me at all for the type of film that it was. I don't know. Did you care about the plot at all?
Yeah, I mean, I knew there was going to be a twist at the end and I wanted to understand it, right? And I did. Yeah, I mean, I was really invested in this movie. So I talked about this during Sleepers, right, last week. It usually, because most of the films we've watched for this podcast have been quite bad, it usually is hard for me to not second screen. Like, I will like feel the urge to second screen while I'm watching these movies because they aren't interesting. Like, I don't want to look at them. But like during both this and Sleepers, I never second screened. Like, my eyes were on the TV for this entire movie. Like, I was pretty bought in. I really enjoyed watching this movie.
As this film went on, my attention gravitated more closely to the movie itself, and I stopped doing what I was doing. But by that point, I had no idea what the hell was happening.
Right,
so
it's an extremely confusing movie. So I'm not surprised you're struggling, because I was confused by it, even though I paid 100% attention for the entire runtime. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it's very plot dense. It's very confusing. Yep. It's just one of those films where that doesn't matter. It doesn't affect it negatively, you know? Where are we at? What's the next important thing that happens?
The other thing I didn't say, I'm sorry. So Cypher convinces him to stay with the case by paying him a $5,000 retainer. That's the other thing. And remember, 1955, right? $5,000.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Like, that's
real
like a
nice.
year's salary. More like, I think that in the 50s, if you were making $5,000 a year, you were doing reasonably well. Like, that was like a reasonable middle class salary. This is a ridiculous amount of money that this guy has offered to give him to continue with the case.
It's pretty baller. I wonder who this Louis Cypher guy is.
I can't wait to find out. Yep.
So Angel, we see him, he experiences these weird occult kind of visions, very violent imagery. At one point, he is attacked from behind, which is not very sportsmanlike, but he manages to escape after a foot chase. He meets this hot lady at a bar sometime after 11 p.m. because he's late. He was supposed to be there at 11. Was that like his secretary or something? I don't know, but I wrote hot lady secretary. She tells him about Liebling while she undresses for him, and she talks about spells while they get it on.
Is he in New Orleans yet?
No.
I don't remember who this lady was, honestly.
Couldn't have been that important then. It's January 3rd, 1955, and Angel is still in his dark-ass apartment playing back his recorded notes. Very cool vibe. Again, his like cassette notes or whatever. He tracked down Johnny's old band leader, and apparently Johnny had a secret lover named Evangeline.
You're wrong. He's in New Orleans at this point. You've just like completely missed that. So he has gone to New Orleans. So this lady, the lady you're talking about, was Favorite's ex-fiance, and she's like some occultist, Margaret. She is an extremely important character in the movie. So yes, you also missed that. So at this point, Harry has gone to New Orleans because that's like where the investigation takes him. So we're in New Orleans now. We have moved to like an entirely new location for the rest of the movie.
We can't be in New Orleans yet because he goes to the Palm Reader in Coney Island first.
Maybe you're right. Well, then I don't remember any of this stuff. So I don't think it's that important. Yeah,
it's not that important. I'm just saying we were still in New York at that. Listen, I'm happy to take the L's when I deserve them, but anyways, yes, there's a quick stop in Coney Island, very moody. I really like the cinematography there, and really throughout the entire film. And then I wrote in my notes, Angel arrives in Louisiana. That's how I knew.
Perfect.
Yes. So he visits this fortune teller. That's who you're referring to, right?
Yes, so that's Margaret.
Margaret, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We learned that he was born on Valentine's Day, 1918, which is only notable because it's also my brother's birthday, Valentine's Day. He doesn't listen to the podcast. He never will. Not 1918, though. He's my younger brother. I'm not quite that old.
He looks great. He's 107 years old. Yeah. doesn't look a day over 30.
190 years old? You look great.
While Angel is visiting Margaret, the fortune teller, he's kind of intrusive. He's kind of poking his head around in things, and she politely kicks his ass out. He comments on her necklace, which has, was it like a star or a pentagram or something like? I didn't know what symbol it was, but it was some sort of notable symbol.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't notice that.
But that is a shot that I noticed where they chose to linger. I didn't notice Robert De Niro's coke nails, but I noticed that. So Angel the next day enters some sort of store that sells roots and stuff like that, like roots and such, and questions the proprietor. Then he goes to a car dealership because he wants to rent a car for a week or so, and he drives into the Louisiana country. So he creeps on this young black woman named Epiphany and her toddler, and he talks to this woman asking about her grandma.
Who's she played by? Mr. Shits on me every time I don't mention that kind of thing.
Lisa Bonet. She is played by Lisa Bonet from The Cosby Show.
This is like her breakout role.
Well, I think her breakout role is The Cosby Show.
Yeah, but I mean, like in film. Like this was like her first like adult like film role, like after The Cosby Show, and like also, her participation in the extremely graphic sex scene that will earn this film its X rating was likewise extremely controversial due to her erstwhile reputation as like the daughter in The Cosby Show, and Bill Cosby himself was critical of it.
It's great because apparently he encouraged her to, but what do you do for a film? You apply to try out. Audition, that's it.
You're doing great today. Are you okay?
Oh, God. I'm working on this apartment, man.
Big paper.
It's a big paper moment. But then after Cosby saw the film, he apparently didn't like it. He critical of all the sex and violence in it. Little did we know at the time that Bill Cosby. Anyways.
It's often projection all the way down, right, is the thing.
That's right.
Right. If someone's too much of a moralist about this kind of stuff, it really does. I don't know. Maybe that's just like my own bias. It makes me wonder about them.
Absolutely.
I can find that I can find that kind of stuff unsavory for sure. Like some of the sex stuff in this movie is legitimately fucked up, but like, I don't know. I stopped watching it and I never thought about it again, because I'm not like a freaky sex pervert who's always thinking about freaky, weird sex shit. It's like you're obsessing over that kind of stuff. Like, why is that such a fixture in your mind? It's right. What does that say about you?
Oh yeah. It's always the case, I feel like.
Yeah.
Angel has his meet cute with Epiphany. She's a 17-year-old with this baby, and when Angel introduces himself to the baby, he's very friendly, but the baby cries. We learned that Epiphany's mom is dead.
Do you remember why the baby cries?
No.
This is incredible. The fortune teller woman on Coney Island, her husband gave Harry this little attachment to put on his sunglasses that's a nose shield. And so he's wearing sunglasses and he has the nose shield on that's meant to make him
that scared
like,
the
protect
kid?
his nose against sunburn, and it scares the kid. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I totally missed that.
The kid being scared is important. This is all going to come together at the end of the film in a way that I wonder if you even understood, given how little of the plot you seem to have taken in. Like this is a pretty brilliant movie, just so you know. Like again, like I'm not sure how good I think it is ultimately, but like this is a real clockwork psychological thriller. Like there are no wasted shots in this movie. Everything contributes to the twist at the end. Like I bet you it's a really fun one to go rewatch. Like once you know how it's going to end.
I agree. Cool. I actually would be happy to rewatch this film right now. And I only watched it a couple of days ago. It definitely demands a second viewing.
Yep.
Yeah. And it is pretty tight too. It's less than 2 hours long. It's only 113 minutes.
Flies by. Yep. I agree. In a way that Sleepers certainly did not, as much as I loved it. Sleepers did not fly by. It felt 3 hours and 45 minutes long, in spite of only being 2.5.
Yeah, it kind of trolleyed by. It was much slower. It taxied by.
Taxiing's a little fast. I'm not sure. Anyway, continue. We're doing great. We're like halfway through the movie, so we're making
love
great
it.
time, all things considered.
It feels great. No, this movie does, pacing wise, I feel like it does move along pretty nicely. I had a great time watching it as much as I did. After Angel meets Epiphany, he hangs out at this blues bar and talks to the singer of the band, Mr. Toots, Sugar Toots. And he follows Toots into the bathroom, sees a chicken foot and freaks out, and a goon at the bar drags Angel out. So it's nighttime, and Angel follows Toots in his car after the bar closes. What?
Yeah, I would say, like, that it was nonsense the way you described that. So the guy drags him out of the bar because Toots doesn't want to answer his questions. He asked him the questions of the bar. Toots didn't want to answer. And Toots is like a fixture at this bar. He's performing. He like knows all the folks. We see like as a piece of scene setting after he finishes performing, this is like a subtle visual shot that's meant to establish that he's like a fixture of this bar. He walks up to the bar and they have his drink ready. Like they like see him coming and like give him his drink without him saying a word. So then after he rebuffs Harry, who lies and says he's a journalist and that's why he's asking, Harry follows him into the bathroom and he calls for like some bouncer or somebody who works at the bar or something. And that's when they throw him out of the bar. I also noticed this scene, just so you know, because I thought the way that they threw him out of the bar was like pretty risky. You probably didn't notice this because you weren't watching very closely.
It was a hard fall.
Yeah. So they throw him out of the bar, but they throw him so he hits a couple of trash cans and then a car passes by like 4 inches from where he landed. And it's like, dude, if you'd like maybe misjudged your strength just a little bit and tossed that guy 5% harder, his head would have gotten run over by that car. Like, it's like, I don't know, if you're throwing people out of the bar, like maybe don't toss them so close to a street where that's like busy with cars driving by. But anyway, that's what happens. That's why he gets thrown out of the bar.
That's why the industry's stunt performers are so valuable.
So true.
I'm really excited to describe this next couple of scenes. It's nighttime and Angel follows Toots in his car after the bar closes. They drive way out into the country and Angel observes this crazy nighttime party happening in the woods. This movie, it's very Southern Gothic, has a lot of like voodoo, occult shit going on. I don't know the level of accuracy here, so I can't comment on that, but this party's nuts. We see everyone in the party dancing in a circle with like drums and chickens and shit. And Epiphany is dancing with a chicken and like rips its head off and dances in its blood. And it's pretty crazy stuff. Is there anything you want to add from the party before I move past it?
Yeah, I think there's sex in this scene, right? And so I also thought during this scene, there's something messed up about it. I can't remember exactly what it is.
I thought dancing in the chicken's blood was pretty messed up.
There's definitely like there's some grinding or something in this scene, whatever. But I remember thinking like, oh, was this the sex scene that made them give it an X rating? And was it only because it was tinged with occultist shit? And so it contributed to my thought like, oh, this milquetoast bullshit, like this would never get an X rating.
That's so interesting.
But the actual scene was like 25 times as disturbing as this. So it's still got a long way to go up.
Oh yeah. You managed to lull yourself into a false sense of security watching this film. That's really interesting.
Yep.
I don't think I knew the rating controversy until after I watched the film, so it wasn't on my mind. So after the party, Toots returns home and Angel jumps him. This fight breaks out between them and Angel interrogates Toots. Apparently Epiphany is a Mambo priest just like her mom was. I'm not really familiar with Mambo. The only Mambo I know is Mambo number 5.
A little bit of Monica in my life, a little bit of Erica by my side.
So we're on this empty floor of like an abandoned looking office building, very creepy, very dark. And Mickey walks over to a guy sitting on a bench inside. He sees a bloody straight razor and picks it up and then just sees this like growing pool of blood all over his body kind of spread out and then wakes up. It was all a dream, but we're getting a lot of this sort of violent imagery in the film. Very disturbing stuff. He wakes up and these two white guys are rooting around through his stuff. Apparently, so they are, not going to lie, I thought they were cops at first, but they're not cops. They're enforcers, right? For someone else. They are cops. They're detectives.
Yeah, they're cops at this part. The enforcers are coming later. I was just about to say these are cops.
Okay, great.
There's like a really fat one and a really skinny one, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, these are 2 detectives. They're fixtures of the rest of the film.
Okay. So Angel wakes up from the dream and he sees these 2 white guys rooting around his stuff. They're cops, they're detectives, and they're investigating the death of Toots Sweet, Apparently, he is dead. He's been murdered. He died choking on his own dick. What a way to go. I know, right?
Hate to see that. Yeah, there's some pretty horrifying killings in this film. Yep.
Oh, absolutely. So they have an interaction, and then afterwards, there's a fat one and a skinny one. Afterwards, we see Angel back at the diner. There's another dream sequence, and you get flashbacks to, I feel bad because I couldn't remember. Was this VE Day when there's a celebration in Times Square? Or was it like...
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure. But we see like some images from that specific day, and he returns to Margaret, the palm reader's place, and she's dead. He gags, seeing the sight of her dead body, and searches around. Can't remember if he found anything because I didn't write so in my notes. You have anything you want to throw in there?
How was she killed?
Wasn't she? Wasn't her heart cut out or something?
Yes, her heart was cut out.
Oh, that's great.
With a knife. Yeah. These things are all very important. Again, it's all part of like explaining the twist. These things are all important.
You're right. It's all part of the twist. For me, and I feel like I wasn't, the way that you lulled yourself into a false sense of security around the rating, I feel like I did, because I kind of thought to myself, oh, this is just a vibes movie. I don't have to be paying super close attention. It turns out you really do for the twist to make sense at the end.
Yeah, you definitely do. The twist is extremely confusing.
Yes. So it's daytime, and Angel visits some white guys. I think these were the enforcers for the guy.
Yes, these are the enforcers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And a dog is unleashed upon him. So there's a big foot chase in the Louisiana country. Angel gets away and visits Epiphany and learns that apparently Johnny Favorite was Epiphany's dad.
Yep. Couple other things. One, the enforcers work for Margaret's father, whom we'll meet in a little while. And during the scene, he has trouble getting away from the dog because he ends up in a chicken coop. So again, like back to the chicken fear.
He ends up, he has difficulty. He has difficulty getting away from the dogs because he forgot that he had a bunch of sausage links in his back pocket.
Right. He couldn't get away from the dog because he forgot that he was afraid of something far less scary than a scary dog. Like, it's like, oh, there's this dog that could actually kill me very easily, but oh, there's chickens. What will I do? Do I let the dog kill me, or do I go through the chicken coop?
That's why there are irrational fears, Mike. Do you have any?
Yep,
do you have any phobias? Any irrational fears?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a hypochondriac, but chips down. I think I'd expose myself to germs if I were like running away from like a lion or something. Like, I think unhesitatingly. So like, no, I don't know if I do have anything that's like that strong in like my decision making, like that strong of like an irrational impulse in my decision making. Like, I think that my like survival instinct would trump all of my irrational fears. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think the big one for me is heights, which I flirted with a little bit. You know, I jumped off the stratosphere in Las Vegas.
3, 2, 1, go!
Ah! Fuck my life!
I know you did. Yep. I almost did, in September.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It was closed the day that I was going to go. Yep.
Oh, that's a bummer. No, it's fun.
Yep. I'm kind of glad I didn't have to go, honestly. It scared the shit out of me just thinking about it. So, and I'm not even that scared of heights. It's just so scary.
Oh, I yelled the entire way down. And Mike and I did take a flight lesson a couple of years ago. It was like one of our first post-COVID activities. Very cool activity.
It was really cool. I agree.
You feel so much more exposed, though, when you are in a little Cessna than when you're on literally any other plane I've ever been on in my entire life. I've never been in a small plane like that before, and you just feel every undulation from the wind, and it was terrifying. Oh my God.
Like you move the, the yoke like 1 degree and you feel the plane like almost crash, and it's like, oh, I don't know about this. Like,
it is unnerving, but very cool. I would totally consider getting a pilot's license if I had the disposable income.
Unbelievably expensive hobby.
Yeah. Yep. Super cool though. But anyways, enough about that. We need to talk about this confusing movie that I half watched. So Angel goes to this Catholic church and sits in the back, and Cypher is already there waiting for him. Why did I write that down? Was that important? Did they have an important discussion? I think he just like wanted to get out again, and Cypher was encouraging him to keep looking. I think that's what the point of that scene was.
I do think that's what the point of the scene was. Yeah, because now he's afraid more that he's got the attention of the Louisiana cops as well as these Cruzmark enforcers. So he's getting like credibly more concerned. But crucially, Cypher is not concerned.
No, that's true.
Like, he doesn't care.
So we're getting to the scene, not the twist, but the reason this movie is rated X. And I took very few notes here. I just wouldn't have known what to write. But it's raining again, and Epiphany visits Angel at his hotel room, and they bang. And what would you like to say about this scene? Because it seems like you have some things you want to say about it. Maybe I'll chime in.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, in a way that I kind of wonder if you got, it's not what you see in the scene that I think makes it so bad. It is what the twist reveals about the nature of the scene. But I mean, yes, it's an extremely graphic sex scene. And in the scene, there is also a lot of like horrific, gory imagery, right? The same kinds of like imaginings that Harry's been having. And we also see, and this is like honestly like a really cool like scene, the way they do this. Like, we see this like set of shots of the hotel room they're in, and there is just like blood everywhere. Like, it's like oozing from all the walls, like all the orifices of like the kind of edges of the room, and it's a pretty disturbing scene, but there is nothing about the scene that I think is particularly bad. Again, I think it is what the twist reveals about the scene that gives it its X rating. Do you know what I mean by that?
I know what you mean by that, but this was actually
testing your understanding of the twist.
Right. This was actually the scene that originally earned the film its X rating. So they got around it by cutting 10 seconds from it. That's what brought it down to an R rating.
What 10 seconds did they cut?
I mean, I don't know, because I didn't see it. Okay. So the next day, the cops are back, and they're knocking on Angel's door. They're racist, very uncool, but it was 1955 Louisiana, so okay. Angel, and I don't know why I wrote that either. Was that even worth commenting on? That they're investigating more? That the cops returned the next morning, that they were looking for Angel.
Yes. I mean, I think it's relevant because he is increasingly a suspect in these things that are going on, right? Yep.
Yeah, he's not doing too great right now. So after that, Angel is watching this. It's some sort of big country meetup. There are chicken fights happening and horse races and a bunch of people. A lot of people have congregated, and he meets this old white guy who uses the name Edward Kelly. Kelly explains to Angel that he took Johnny way back when. He took him out of the asylum or the hospital and dropped him off at Times Square on New Year's Eve and never saw him again. And I guess Kelly's some sort of Satanist or something. And Kelly says that Johnny was a Satanist conjurer or something of the sort.
Yeah, the Kelly guy, just so you know, like, glad I'm here. The Kelly guy is Ethan Cruz.
Glad you're here too.
Kelly is, and it's a nom de plume. It's a fake name. That was what he left as the name when they checked him out. But the people who checked him out were Ethan Cruzmark. That's the guy. He's the one who sent the enforcers after him, and his daughter, Margaret Cruzmark, who is Johnny's former fiance, who was killed by having her heart cut out in like 10 minutes ago in your description. So like, it's all coming together, right? Like, we understand like who all the people we've met so far in the movie are in this like historical narrative that the movie is exploring.
I'm really Rochambeauing this recap this week.
Rococo. I thought of. I should have said as an alternative, misnomer for you. I thought of that like after we hung up last time.
Better late than never. So apparently Johnny Kelly tells this, or whatever the fuck his name is, tells this story about how Johnny once, Cruzmark, that's it, killed a boy and ate his heart out. Really gross story. Kelly dies and Angel runs the hell out of there. Anything else you want to add from that before we move on? We're getting close to the big reveal.
Yeah, I mean, again, his name's not Kelly, it's Cruzmark. And the way that he died was by dipping his head in a vat of boiling gumbo. And Angel pulls his head out of the vat and he's dead. He's drowned in the gumbo, and his entire head is like beet red from having been burned by this presumably 212 degree gumbo water.
You can add a boiled head to gumbo. That's what makes it so great.
I was fascinated, by the way, this is like a gumbo hut, right? That's what they refer to it as.
Yeah.
And yeah, like in this building, it appears to just be like a small like outhouse devoted to creating gumbo. And like the gumbo vat is huge. Like it's got to be like 2,000 gallons. Like it is like a ridiculously large, like, container of gumbo that they're making. It's probably not 2,000 gallons. It's at least 500 gallons. It's a huge vat, like
It's
gigantic.
big. You could boil a man's head in there.
Yep. His whole body would have fit in there. Like it was like bigger than, like you could fit an entire large adult man's body inside of this gumbo vat. Like it's a really big vat of gumbo.
This gumbo discussion it reminded me of when we went to New Orleans like 6 years ago.
To New Orleans too.
Oh,
Yep.
for many reasons, but in this particular case, it reminded me of we were there with our friend Blake, and we were hanging out at a hotel top floor bar before going to the movies to see Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Amazing that film has come up twice in this podcast so far. Like
really incredible. This episode is dedicated to Han Solo and all of the brave rebels. In
not
the
the
Alliance.
Harrison Ford performance, only the Alden Ehrenreich performance from Solo.
That's right.
Yep.
But we were hanging out at this bar, and there was an option. I enjoy a nice Moscow Mule, and there was an option for a Cajun Mule. And the only thing that made it Cajun, the only thing that separated it from a normal Moscow Mule, was that after the mule was completed, they sprinkled Old Bay seasoning on top of the drink. It was the funniest. It was so funny. What a racket. It didn't taste good either. I ordered it, of course. I had to buy the Cajun
I love
Mule.
Old Bay, but I wouldn't want to put it in a Moscow Mule.
Doesn't belong on top of a Moscow Mule. So that did lead to a long time running joke that you can make any food Cajun by sprinkling some Old Bay seasoning on it.
I choose to believe that's true, honestly.
Yeah. So Angel is driving in New Orleans, the Big Easy, and it's raining again. Very rainy movie. And I literally wrote in my notes, just so you know, very Memento style. What? Okay, hit me.
I just want to make sure that we really highlighted it, because I think you kind of glossed over it. So in the last scene we learned, right, that Favorite was an occultist who sold his soul to the devil. I just want to say that aloud, right? Like really clearly, because it's very important, right? As we come to the twist, which I have to assume astute listeners may have guessed by this point, how this is all going to turn out. But that is something we learned about Johnny Favorite, was that he sold his soul to the devil.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Did you guess the twist at this point, Mike?
Not at all. Did you?
I certainly did. Yes. By this point, it's quite obvious. Like, I think it's a great twist, but I think it's really challenging if you're paying attention to the movie to learn this piece of information and not get at least some idea of like what's happening in this movie.
I was blindsided. Oh man, I'm really excited. So before I was so rudely interrupted by my co-host, I was about to say that in my notes, I literally wrote at this point, I'm kind of losing the plot again. So my notes here are not very helpful. Basically, I think I kind of completely lost it. Angel goes inside. He breaks open this, it's a vase, right? Like a vase.
Yep.
Yeah, and he finds dog tags in there from the war that have his name on them. So he freaks out and screams, and suddenly De Niro, Louis Cypher, appears. He's sitting there, and he's looking smug. Angel walks into the living room of his hotel room, or apartment, and sees Cypher. And we learn that Louis Cypher is Lucifer, the devil himself.
Dum, dum, dum.
Yeah, pretty good.
So he is the devil to whom Johnny Favorite sold his soul, right? So that's the collateral, right? The collateral is that when Johnny Favorite is dead, he gets his soul, because that's what it means to sell your soul to the devil, is you have your life, and in your life you have the material rewards, which you have mortgaged your soul to receive from the devil. But like Louis Cypher, he wants the soul. He wants Johnny Favorite's soul.
Yeah. So my notes kind of fall apart here, but okay, I'm just going to say my understanding of this twist, and then you can add your addendum. So The twist is that Angel is Johnny Favorite.
Who's Harry Angel?
He's some guy, right?
Yeah, no, it's much simpler than that. So Harry Angel is the soldier whom Johnny Favorite, aka the Mickey Rourke person we know as Harry Angel, killed and whose heart he ate as his like penance to Satan to get his fame, for which he mortgaged his soul. Yes. So like that's the twist. He finds the dog tag, right? Like that's when you know the twist is when he finds the Harry Angel dog tag inside of the vase.
Gotcha. Okay.
I wish our listeners could see your face right now. It's just washing over you in waves. Like so many things are coming together from this film because it actually makes perfect sense, but it's very confusing.
No, it does.
You have to be watching for the whole time to understand it when you see the twist.
It made sense in retrospect, and it made a lot more sense after I read the entirety of the Wikipedia page for the film. So Angel's Johnny Favorite, but he had amnesia after his traumatic injury or whatever, and Cypher's eyes turn yellow and he plays a record, and Angel freaks out and breaks down while repeatedly yelling, "I know who I am. I know who I am." So he runs away in the rain and returns to his hotel room, right?
So in this scene, before he returns to his hotel room, he remembers that he did all the killings.
Oh, that's right. We see the flashes, the flashbacks.
Right. So he killed the doctor. He killed Toot Sweet. He killed both the Krusmarks, right? He actually dipped the guy's head in the vat of gumbo. He didn't drown himself in it.
He was hungry for some gumbo.
Margaret Krusmark's heart. And crucially, and this is the most important thing before we get to the way the movie ends, right? Mm-hmm. Who was Epiphany's father again?
Johnny Favorite.
That's right. So this is the nature of the sex scene, right? That I think is the reason why it gave it an X rating. Because there's nothing besides the blood about the scene itself that is particularly disturbing. This movie's not that old. Like this is like a relatively normal severity of sex scene, I think, for an R-rated movie to have in the time when this movie came out. But it was an extremely lurid sex scene of incest, of like a father fucking his daughter. So like that is the reason, I think, for the X rating.
Yeah.
Did you realize that she was his daughter?
No, I knew that she was the daughter. I just don't know if I agree that is why they gave it an X rating. I think it was because of the actual imagery.
Well, we're gonna have to dig into this. All right, we'll revisit on a future episode.
Yeah. Well, anyways, yes. So that is the disturbing nature of the twist. Everything comes together. We see the flashbacks of the murders. Angel is freaking the hell out and runs away in the rain. Returns to his hotel room and sees Epiphany dead with one of the cops in there. The other cop walks, R.I.P. The other cop walks in holding the toddler. So the cop says, "Angel, you're going to burn for this." And Angel says, "Yeah, in hell." And then the toddler's eyes glow yellow the way that Cypher's did earlier in the film. We see this long shot of Angel descending in an elevator in some grimy, dark industrial, whatever building, and the film ends.
Did you watch the credits?
It doesn't just keep going.
Yeah, so it interspersed throughout the credits, there are like repeated scenes of the descent of the elevator.
Yeah, no, I did notice that.
That's nice. Heart.
Hey, you know what? I think we did great. We put our heads together. There's nothing we can't do.
Yeah, sure. Who should give their thoughts and rating first?
Be my guest. What did you think of Angel Heart?
Sure. So I really liked this movie. For me, I love Gothic literature and Gothic film. I really like the kind of Southern aesthetic, especially the bayou aesthetic that this film has, something that I really enjoy, right? It's like shades of something more modern, right? Like it's very shades of True Detective season 1.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, this actually, I think it shares a lot of, I think, thematic DNA with True Detective season 1. Not going to be my recommendation, although it would be a good recommendation.
Yeah, I thought of that one too.
I have two things that could be my recommendation for this, but I'm only going to give one of them because I'm reasonably certain the other thing is going to be yours, unless you've gone totally against type on this one. Yeah, I like this movie. I really love this type of unreliable narrative, and this is the kind of horror that I think generally really works for me, which is this kind of psychological horror. For me, the issue with this film is, and I talked about this a little bit when we talked about Hereditary as my recommendation for whatever film it was a recommendation for. I love Hereditary, but the point where it kind of falls apart for me is the point where you realize the supernatural stuff is real. And it's kind of the same way I feel about this film. I just I don't believe in anything. I'm my view of the world is a strictly materialist one. I don't believe in anything non-materialist. I don't believe in God. Like I don't believe in any of that stuff. And so when something non-materialist happens in a narrative, it's not scary to me because I know in my heart that could never actually happen. So that like isn't scary. And that's kind of the way that I feel about the Hereditary thing as well. Because like I find Hereditary really terrifying because it's like the occultist stuff is like a metaphor, right? For like family psychology and like, you know, the danger of like letting someone be close to you and like all that other stuff. And then at the end, you're like, oh no, it was just Satan the whole time. And it's like, I don't know, like, I don't know about that. And so that's kind of the way I feel about this, where like at the end, revealing that De Niro is Satan and that like it's that literal this whole time. I'm like, yeah, but that could never happen. So that like isn't scary to me at all. Like whereas the other stuff like was kind of scary up until that point. And I think that psychological horror can have a supernatural dimension if the supernatural dimension of it is deployed subtly or sparingly. Because I'm not going to give this movie five stars, right? But there is a movie, which is what I suspect may be your recommendation. And so I apologize if it is, and I'm about to talk about it. You know, I think about the 1999 Japanese film Cure as an example of a psychological horror film that has a supernatural twist, but deploys it in a very subtle fashion that kind of leaves the fear and the tone of the film intact for me. Once you find out that Satan is the reason why this stuff is happening in Angel Heart, it explains everything. There's nothing left that's scary that isn't supernatural in nature, and so none of it is scary to me, essentially, at that point. So, like, I don't know. I really enjoyed watching this movie, but the supernatural stuff kind of takes the wind out of the sails for me. So, for me, this is a 3.5-star film, and it gets a heart, though. I really, really enjoyed this movie, and like I said, I would be happy to watch it again. I think it would really benefit from a second viewing in the future.
I think that's a very balanced take on Angel Heart. I really enjoyed this film. I think part of the reason I think I enjoyed it maybe more than you did, and I think that is because I never, despite it being a psychological horror film, I never once considered this film scary. I really appreciated its tone. It's this very shadowy, neo-noir, Southern Gothic. I love the jazz soundtrack and the moody, dark, rainy visuals. I liked Harold as a character, and you know, he's getting the shit beat out of him at every twist and turn, and he's just so raggedy trying to figure out this mysterious case. And so I really viewed it more as a vibes movie, like a mood piece than anything. It didn't have to be scary. And so none of the supernatural stuff affected my enjoyment of the film because it just was operating in this very fictional kind of place. It was just all about this artificial mood that was being created. And so for that reason, I'm giving it 4 out of 5, which for me is a pretty high rating.
Yep,
yeah.
That is a very high rating for you.
The only other film that I've given a 4 so far is The Untouchables, way back in the beginning of this podcast. You know, for me, it was a great vibes movie, less than 2 hours long. Like you said, no wasted shots, great performances. Mickey Rourke carries this movie on his back. He does a great job.
Awesome.
He's really good. Yeah. De Niro gives a great performance in extremely limited. You know, we have these De Niro films where he's only in them for 10 minutes or whatever. But they're newer films where you can tell he's just doing it for the quick paycheck. This was like, oh no, this felt like a real character with real history. I liked their interpretation of Lucifer. It was neat, you know, and they used him well. Like you have this heavy hitter and he comes in this minor supporting role and kills it. But then the rest of the film is really Mickey Rourke's. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I want to watch it again. And it's in that 4 and up tier for me.
Yeah, for sure. This is a good movie. I really enjoy it. It totally could be one that you know, we record next week and I come back and say, you know, I was wrong. 4 stars.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you already mentioned it earlier, but why don't you tell us a bit about your recommendation this week?
Sure. So rather than Cure, you know, which I think cuts a contrast to it, you know, in a certain way, right? Still being a kind of supernatural tinged psychological horror kind of film with like, I would say like noir DNA, which is what I would say Angel Heart is, right? Like it's like at the beginning, it's kind of masquerading as a noir film, but it really is just psychological horror. I'm gonna pick a noir film, right? I'm gonna pick I'm going to pick probably the greatest noir private eye film ever made. So this week I am going to recommend the 1974 film Chinatown, starring Jack Nicholson. I watched this for the first time last year. This is one of those things. You've never seen it, right?
No.
I mean, like, it's legendary, right? It's supposed to be like one of the greatest movies ever made. Man, it's better than The Reputation. It's incredible. It is.
Wow.
It is an unbelievable film. Like, I don't even really want to say very much about it. But I thought about Chinatown a lot while I was watching this, because I actually think that Mickey Rourke, he plays the character of Harry Angel somewhat similar to the way Jack Nicholson plays Jake in Chinatown. You know, these are like, they're gumshoes, they're smart guys, they've gotten their hands dirty a little bit, but like, they're fundamentally decent, well-intentioned people, and they're very confused by the world around them. I think that what makes a like private eye noir story work really well is having that kind of vantage point of befuddlement on the part of the protagonist, because you too as the viewer are very befuddled, right? But I just think that it's better in Chinatown. You know, I think that the character of Jake Gittes is significantly more compelling than the character of Harry Angel. I think the mystery is more interesting, and I think that ultimately the mystery itself and the twist, as revealed in the final act, because it's structured very similarly to this film, it trods a lot of the same ground thematically. But spoiler alert, it doesn't have a supernatural component, which makes it work much better for me. Yeah, I don't know. Chinatown's crazy, man. I'm really excited because like I know you're gonna watch it now that I've said all this within the next few weeks, and like it's gonna fucking blow. It's gonna fucking blow you away. Like this is a crazy movie. It's so cool.
If no one else will heed our recommendations, then I will.
Yeah, it's man, it's a really special film, and like Jack Nicholson in the role, like, oh, he's incredible, and it has amazing cinematography. It's a period piece, right? I think it takes place in the 30s, but it's from the 70s, and like the period piece of it all is very effective. Like everything is like very convincing and believable. It's super cool. It's a super cool movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to watch it. I enjoy a nice neo-noir or just noir. Oh, I love that genre.
It's the best. Yep.
I need to tell you my embarrassing Chinatown story. It's not even a story. It's just like a little anecdote. I might have told you this before, but for the listeners, Chinatown, it's a legendary film, and it's notable. Many screenwriters say that the script is perfect. It's an example of a perfect script. And because I had never seen Chinatown, literally up until I think maybe 3 years ago, I thought that the movie that they were talking about was actually Big Trouble in Little China, starring Kurt Russell.
You've never told me that. That's so funny. That's really good.
Oh my God. Yeah. So there you go. The more you know about me, just learning in bits and pieces.
Yep.
My recommendation this week is a film that I speak quite highly of. I always try to get people to watch it whenever it is, relevant in conversation. I'm recommending not The Exorcist, not The Exorcist 2, but The Exorcist 3 specifically.
Remember, I thought you were going to recommend this for another movie we watched a couple months ago.
Oh, really? Well,
yep.
Here we are. It was inevitable.
Because you truly do talk about it all the time. I can't believe you made it like 24 episodes in or wherever we are without you talking about it, really.
We haven't seen much horror.
It was Godsend. That's what it was. I thought it was going to be your Godsend recommendation. Because I was like, this is his chance. There's not going to be many horror movies, right? Like,
starring Robert De Niro as Dr. Richard Godsend. So I think this is a good pick for a few reasons. So one, it came out pretty close to Angel Heart. It was released in 1990, and it was also written and directed by the writer of the Exorcist novel, William Peter Blatty. So what's great about it is it's not a direct sequel to The Exorcist 2, because apparently I'd never seen that film, but apparently it's so bad that people just prefer to skip over it entirely.
You've said that. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a sequel to the original Exorcist. It takes place 15 years later and stars George C. Scott as the detective from the first Exorcist movie. And he gives this really great, weathered, world-weary performance as this lieutenant. And the movie that I could kind of compare it to in my mind tonally is Seven. It's like that, but there is a supernatural quality to it. And it's a bit shorter than Seven too. It's less stylistically directed. I mean, Blatty is a novelist first and foremost, so you would kind of expect that. And it's only 2 hours long. So again, it's not a scary movie necessarily, but it builds this sense of dread over the course of the entire film, and it focuses on spiritual despair and philosophical evil in this way that is much more interesting to me. Movies like Seven, Zodiac, The Exorcist 3, etc., those films stand out so much more to me in my mind than your typical horror film that is just dealing with whatever supernatural elements, blah, blah, blah. I just have no interest in those. So The Exorcist 3, it's a bit more existential, it's a bit more psychological, and I loved it. I was kind of blown away. I like it more than the original Exorcist because I saw them both in the same October a couple of years ago. And so any opportunity I have to spread the word, it's not for everyone. I think the pacing can be kind of deliberate in times, so I could see it losing some people's attention. But for me, I found it gripping, and I will probably rewatch it this October.
You finally got me. I put it on my watch list. All right. Sounds great. I'll watch it.
Fantastic. Mike, are you ready to roll for next week's film?
Never been more ready. Here I go. I have rolled a harrowing 68.
Ooh, what could that be?
Arthur and the Invisibles. I don't know. It just doesn't sound good to me. Arthur and the Minimoys, though, is the name of the Wikipedia article? Hang on. This is like what's going on here?
The film received its release in the United States under the title Arthur and the Invisibles by the Weinstein Company. You gonna say anything about it?
This sounds awful. It is a 2006 English language French live action / animated fantasy film based on the first 2 books of the Arthur children's book series, Arthur and the Minimoys and Arthur and the Forbidden City. Whew. Yeah, I don't know about this.
Notably, this is directed by Luc Besson, the French director of such films as The Fifth Element, Lucy, and Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Oh, and Leon the Professional.
Sure. That's fun. I like The Fifth Element.
Yeah?
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess next week we will be watching Arthur and the Invisibles.
Great. All right, there you have it. Another well-executed episode of Our Hero De Niro in the books. We'll be back next week talking about Arthur and the Invisibles. Want to thank the citizens of De Niro Nation for listening every week. I want to thank Caroline for our fantastic podcast artwork. If you have any questions or comments, questions would be great, but I'll accept comments. Email ourherodeniro@gmail.com. Follow us on Letterboxd. I'm Mike Back at You. He's Mike the Fab. And rate us in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. See you next week with another episode.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.